Hey, welcome. We're a little early right now. We still have about 7 minutes to go, so feel free to do whatever you need to do on your end, and we'll see you in about 7 minutes. Hi, guys. Hi, Susan. We still have about 5 minutes to go, so I'm going to give some time for everyone. Oh, no, I don't hear you. Rosemary? Uh-oh, maybe it could be on, I don't think it's on my end. Let me see.
Hi.
Hi. And you guys can hear me, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, fabulous. All right, we still have about 5 minutes to go. I'm going to put a couple of resources in the chat to start with for everyone. So I'm going to take care of that. And Susan, I don't know if you know the team over at Mused, but they're amazing. Consignment shop right across from us. Have you ever been?
No. Oh, yes, once.
Oh, I love it so much.
I got my tea.
Okay.
Oh, yay. How are you?
Wait, can you hear us?
I can hear you now.
You got cords. Everything we had to unplug to get the music.
Could you hear our music?
No.
Oh, it was on mute. I
Jesus.
muted it. Okay.
And John, welcome. We have about 5 minutes left, so we'll get started right at 1 p.m.
Okay. Do you want the music back on? Okay,
Eventually, I have to, of course, I didn't do all of my homework, and because I would think when we're originally chatting, I'm just going to ask everybody to put themselves on mute. So we'll just have one of those calls, like not now, but once we get started, we'll just have everyone go on to mute on their own, because I don't really feel like figuring it out on my end.
Put yourself on mute. You can just hold down your space bar when you want to talk and then release and it goes back to mute.
Awesome. But that's like not, I mean, like somebody was like, oh, you should figure out, you should use the feature to mute everyone. And I was like, that seems like a lot of work on my end.
I'm here at the meeting. DCB.
I do. Hi, Kate. Welcome. We have about 5 minutes, so we're just all hanging out in a little chat, and then once we hit noon, we'll get rocking and rolling right away.
Okay.
And one of the things I didn't realize when I set up like the disclaimer is that I have to accept everyone into the group each time. So hopefully I'll be looking down enough to remember to do that. Hey, Bud, welcome. We are just going to get started in about 3 minutes. So we're just kind of chatting amongst ourselves. And then once we hit 1 o'clock, we'll get started right away and have everyone put themselves on mute at that time. But that's where we're at. Also, if ever, just so everyone knows, Bud? I'll mention it again, but in the chat box, I'll be putting some resources. and the lovely disclaimer and all that good stuff. So
I'm in commercial banking.
Very nice. Thank you.
No problem.
I'm in women's consignment.
Ah, very nice.
Bud's
on
been
over,
staying like really friendly through this, and I keep asking him how.
Um, well, I can finally breathe after yesterday, fortunately, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah. Yesterday had to be a rough day for you, for sure.
I processed 56 applications and only 11 didn't get through.
I mean,
But
yeah, you guys did amazing. You guys,
our bank,
I
we
can't speak
did.
enough. But anyway, I mean,
Yeah.
everyone did amazing. Kate did amazing. Susan did amazing. Like everyone's done amazing, especially since, like I had said in my intro, that, you know, we have experts in each of these fields on the call, but like no one can be an expert in this right now because one, we're getting the information the same time you guys are, and two, the SBA is changing the rules after, you know, afterwards, or clarifying things afterwards. So we're all finding it out in real time. All right, we have 1 minute to go. We're going to start right at 1 o'clock. I'm going to ask everybody now, with the exception of our 4 panelists, if they can put themselves onto mute. All right. Oops. Admit. Oh, I just found out how to do that. That's interesting. All right, so we are right at 1 o'clock. I am going to get going right away, and we should have more people coming on board throughout the session to listen. As you come into the session, if you can just mute your phones for us, that will help us get through this nice and quick. My goal is, we are on so many Zoom calls these days. I'd like to get us done in like 40, 50 minutes. I have panelists that were nice enough to jump onto the call and take some time out of their busy day. So we'll get started. So my whole kind of purpose behind this to start with was that we have each of us have been kind of like navigating and trying to figure out what, you know, what kind of works for us. And today's talk is going to be specifically focused on solo entrepreneurs, and single member LLC business owners, and sole proprietors. I think that, you know, we sometimes get a little lost in the shuffle when it comes to this stuff. And I found that my resources were really good at helping me not feel like I was so lost. So I am going to just start with introducing our panelists really quickly. You can give a quick hello, but I'll have you go into more detail of who you are and what you do at the end as well. So myself, I'm Meg Donnelly. I'm a licensed massage therapist and owner of Nova Weekend Warriors, which focuses on solutions for weekend warriors in Northern Virginia. I am a single member LLC. I also have on the call Kate Cote. She is a financial advisor with Red Clover Financial Planning. Welcome, Kate. And then we also have Susan McLawn. She is a certified bookkeeper with Back Office Business Solutions, LLC. Welcome, Susan.
Hello.
And I also have, I don't know if Danielle Hayden is on the call yet. And so hopefully she will be able to make it in later, because I did want someone from each of the different divisions. But she is a certified public accountant with Kickstart Accounting. And last but not least, I have Bud Martin. Bud is a VP of Commercial Lending with MVB Bank. Bud, welcome.
Hello.
All right, so how my plan to start this is I just was going to go through the decisions that I made, and then I'll call on each of our panelists and each of our experts to talk through, kind of what their feeling is on the decisions that I made. One thing is, if you have any questions, you can put them into the chat box, and we'll try to cover those in the last 10 minutes if you have anything that you want to ask. I am asking everyone, just make sure you're not disclosing any personal information in what you are asking in the chat box, or if we unmute you in order to do that. We just want to make sure this is safe for everyone. Same thing for me. I'm going to talk about the programs I chose, but I won't be talking about amounts, other than, the fact that I'm a single member LLC. So when it comes to EIDL, like, it's $1,000. So anyway, that is the case. Someone did just ask if it's going to be recorded. It is. You should have had to click something to say you knew you were being recorded. So I will post this into the notes in the Facebook post afterwards, or you can always reach out to me. All right, so what I did and my plan as of 4/11, when I first put this together, was I applied for the EIDL, which was an SBA program, and my intention became to only accept the forgivable portion, which it seems will be $1,000 for sole proprietors or single member LLCs. And there may be a little issue with that, because the original thing was that EIDL was supposed to come in before PPP. So we'll certainly enlist Bud to maybe see if he has any thoughts on that later. I then applied for the PPP, which is part of the CARES Act, with the intention of only accepting the forgivable portion, which it looks like is going to be based somewhere around 2.5 months on average net income when you are a single member LLC. And that is, it looked like originally that was going to be either taken from profit and loss statement for 2019 or Schedule C. Since then, it looks like the SBA has set out rules that it is the Schedule C. And then hopefully, as long as my amounts work out correctly, I also added 2 months of rent to that. As long as that amount doesn't come out to more than 25%, because at least 75% of that loan, my understanding, has to be used towards payroll. The last thing that I plan to do, and we'll certainly have our experts talk about this today, I asked, I'm applying for the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, which is the PUA, and that PUA allows you, so that I'm not going to do until after my 8 weeks of the PPP has been exhausted. After my 8 weeks is that my plan is to apply for the PUA. The PUA, my understanding is, gives you access to unemployment through your state for up to 39 weeks. And that includes giving you access to to the state's unemployment, which is normally not available to sole proprietors and single member LLCs. And then additionally, there is the FPUC, which is a part of that. And that's the federal program, which is going to give you an additional $600 per week, as stated in the PUA, until July 31st or 25th. There was a change to that recently, just like yesterday, from the SBA. So it looks, or from the CARES Act or SBA. So it looks like what's going to happen is that is going to be somewhere around the 25th of July or the 31st of July. I'm foregoing any SBA bridge loans, or I'm trying to not do any unforgivable portions of the EIDL or PPP loans. So, but rather I'm looking at cutting all unnecessary expenses, which, unfortunately, if depending on how long this goes, it may possibly include me releasing my leased office space after the time of the 2 months rent relief, you know, depending on if I can't come to any kind of negotiation with my landlord. Oh, my speaker is not working. Okay, so did anyone hear me throughout that, or where did I stop? Okay, you heard me throughout. All right, fabulous. So my goal was to, I might be repeating myself here, so I apologize if I am. Why is my thing not working? Okay. Everyone can hear me? Give me a thumbs up. Okay, fabulous. All right, so my goal is really to mitigate my expenses and not have any debt at the end of this. So you know, I want to make sure that there's not any additional, like I'm lowering any additional monthly payments, and I don't want to have any monthly payments on loan after deferment because it just doesn't make financial sense for my business. Because there will be like longer term financial impacts to massage and the touch-based industries, I think. So anyway, I've started to think about the possibility that, you know, I might not be able to come back to the way things used to be, but rather focus on how I can financially survive if there's long-term changes. So this isn't really, you know, necessarily the right thing for everyone. It's just kind of the way that I am. So what I will do is I am going to first turn it over to my financial advisor, Kate Cote, and see, Kate, do you kind of, based on how I am planning to do all of this, do you see any red flags, or is there anything that you would like to talk about?
No, I don't see any red flags in terms of what your goals are. I would just say that for every business owner, they're going to have to look at their long-term goals around their business, because you know, the PPP, the being able to borrow the extra amount at the lower interest rate actually could be a great opportunity for somebody who was considering expanding their business or something like that. I mean, the terms are very favorable. And, you know, we've already kind of discussed this, the fact that the PPP funding has run out, but it's pretty clear that there's going to be at least a second round of funding. So if this is something that you're considering doing for your business, your best bet would be to go ahead, and I'm sure Bud's going to talk to this, but go ahead and get your application in, because it is first come, first serve. So you just want to make sure that if this is something you want to do for your business, that you're in line for it. But no, I think for meeting the goals that you have, you don't want to retain any debt. You just want to get the money that basically is going to turn into a grant. It sounds good. And when you and I worked together, we looked at, you know, would you be better off, you know, going for the unemployment now? But as I pointed out with you, the unemployment income is taxable income, whereas the other money is grant money, and it, as far as I'm aware, it's not going to be taxable. So, yeah, I think what you're doing is great.
All right, fabulous. See, I just picked on Kate to tell me I did everything right? No, somebody tells me, no, you have it all wrong. That'll be good. All right, so I'm actually gonna flip over to Bud right now. Bud is the, I'm gonna get your title wrong, but he's the VP of making me not breathe into a paper bag right now. But Bud is with MVB Bank. One of the things that we've found is that the local banks, and MVB is based out of West Virginia, but has two offices, I think, here in Virginia. And one of the things we've found is that a lot of people have found is that the loan process has gone through a lot quicker for people that have local bank affiliations that are SBA lenders. So Bud, am I on the right track, one? And two, what are your recommendations for people when the next round of PPP funding comes through? You know, where should they go and how should they go about that?
Thank you for the introduction, Meg. Yeah, it was a crazy 13 days to say the least. That 13 days, $350 billion exhausted across the United States, and especially the fact that a couple of the bigger banks were only capped at certain amounts, so it probably could have gone quicker. But yeah, I think when it comes down to it, Kate made some good points. Meg, you've made some great points. The PPP loan that Meg and I worked on is really for that 8-week short term. A lot of it can be forgiven if you do it the right way. And if you were granted and got your PPP loan, definitely every cent, make sure it's accounted for. You made that great point about the breakdown of 75% towards payroll, and the 25% towards your soft fixed cost, utilities, rent, interest on covered mortgages. So if you are a sole proprietor working from home, you can, I've been told, use the interest on your current home mortgage for your primary residence if you have a at home-based office there. The EIDL, there's the difference. There's the EIDL grant that a lot of people applied for through the SBA. There's also the EIDL loan. If you were, it's someone like in Meg's case, you were lucky enough to get the funds for the PPP, you are now kind of disqualified from the EIDL loan, which is the longer term and lower interest rate. So if you didn't get in on the PPP funds on this initial go about, I would definitely have everything prepared with your bank, whether local, community, mid-sized, or one of the larger national banks. As everyone is Schedule C, sole proprietors, and those types of things, at the 9th or 25th hour, or however you want to describe it, Wednesday night is when they release that it's not just going to be Schedule or 1099s, it's going to be Schedule Cs. And the reason they did this, they want to base that off of your line 31 on your Schedule C, which actually breaks down your full net income versus just the 1099, which shows the actual amount you were paid out before expenses. So they just wanted to make sure that they had their numbers correct at that point. And unfortunately, a couple of clients I was working with lost out because they didn't have their Schedule C ready for 2019. So that would be my number one word of advice, is have that Schedule C ready, 2019 Schedule C ready for whenever this next round. I've heard everything from it could get approved over the weekend, it could be towards the end of next week. I know the ones that I didn't get to are going to be first in line. I'm not sure how other banks are doing it, but 1099 schedule, 1099, 2019 Schedule C, make sure your application is filled out correctly. MVB, we did a separate spreadsheet where we broke down the amount, and then we also had them do 2 months of their expenses to see what the difference was, just in case all of our borrowers could see what potential might not be forgiven. So we just kind of did that more or less for our executive leadership team. But yeah, really, if you have a good relationship with your bank and your banker, I would say there's a better chance versus some of the people that, unfortunately, the bigger banks, they submitted their application and 13 days later hadn't gotten any type of response or anything like that.
Yeah, it's I don't know, it's been interesting to say the least. Now, Susan, before we move on, based on everything that I've kind of gone over so far, do you have any additional thoughts?
Just a couple. Maybe Bud knows the answer to this, but the 75% clarification might be needed. That I think it's 100% of the loan is based on your payroll numbers, and they take
Yes.
that number, the 12-month average, and multiply it by 2.5, and then of that number, 75% of that number has to be applied to your payroll costs during the 8 period. And that other 25% can be used for rent, but your rent doesn't factor into figuring out the loan amount. Is that correct?
It is. So it's kind of strange because they base the loan off 2.5 times your payroll for that 12 months. But if I should have the loan docs for Meg probably today. If we disperse today, she has 8 weeks to use those funds. So it's kind of like a difference in numbers. And that's why we included those in our spreadsheet, those soft fixed costs. So she could see if there's that difference there, then this is still going to be forgivable in that 2-month span versus the 2.5 months of rent.
Right. But the rent isn't actually used to calculate the loan amount.
No.
Okay, and the other thing was I had a bookkeeping client who, when he went to his bank wanted the 12-month period from April 1st, 2019 to April 1st, 2020, not just 2019 numbers. So, but is it possible that different lending institutions have different criteria for this loan?
We were told, so here's the thing. So there's a couple, I don't want to say loopholes, but I'll give you an example. I was working with a client who she opened up shop in July of 2019. And her July to December were X numbers. And we were only accepting through February 29th, 2020. That was what we were told. So you either did a 12-month rolling average from February 1, 19 to February 29th, 2020. But if you were a company that was started after June 30th, you could either use your average through February 29th, or there was a loophole where you could only use 2020 numbers. And in her case, it was a difference of being approved for a loan for $22,000 versus $49,000 because her 2-month average from January 1st, 2020 to February 29th, 2020 was that greater, but it was still allowable through the SBA. So we had analysts that basically in a 2-day span knew the program back to front. So it was the analyst I submitted my loan to that was like, this client could have qualified for more. So it's just really digging through, and that's another great thing about MVB Bank is that we had the people that were resident experts in those kind of things that can help out a lot when it comes to a difference of a $22,000 loan versus a $49,000 loan. So just really know the ins and outs and read up as much as you can. Try to become the expert yourself.
And I'm smiling and laughing because my numbers are not even close to those digits that Bud just said. But Susan, did you have another question or another comment?
My only comment was that as small entrepreneurs, small solo proprietorships, everyone needs to have their books in order every month during this period because things are moving so quickly. Don't let your bookkeeping fall behind because you may need to pull those more recent numbers when you go in. So.
Well, and I'm actually gonna reiterate that with you, Susan, because my books were in order for the first half of the year, and then I got sloppy, and someone reminded me, but I didn't follow up, and I did not apply for the EIDL because I didn't have my numbers together. until April 3rd. And it seems like most, anything that has been approved so far, again, little caveat of hearsay and my understanding, was the ones that were put in before that time period. So I'm a little bit worried that I'm not going to end up with that $1,000 grant because I wasn't ready with my books on time. The other thing I wanted to mention is, I had opened a business checking account when I first started my business, and that's not always a requirement. A lot of people will open a personal checking account to use for business, which is like okay from like an accounting standpoint, but a lot of the banks were only helping their customers that had business checking accounts. So I don't know if MVB followed that or not, but it was just interesting to me. So it may be something that you want to do is like look at opening a business checking account versus just a personal checking account. But am I off base here, or would you agree, disagree?
No, I think, and I've had conversations with other bookkeepers who have had clients who had to open a new account in order for the money to be deposited because they had a personal account instead of a business account.
We required, you had to be an MVB client, business or personal, but you had to have a relationship that was established before February 15th of this year. In cases of everyone that got approved, you will be opening a new account with MVB, a free account, but that is specifically so MVB and our clients can track every penny out of that account. So we don't want to get convoluted with your normal operating accounts or personal accounts,
right?
Because the SBA, I feel like, is going to be pretty stringent when it comes to what they're going to forgive and not forgive, and we don't want something to slip through the cracks that, oh, your payroll processing fee or something, some kind of miscellaneous fee comes out of that account, and we were like, well, what is this and why is that? We just need the hard black and white numbers when it comes to that account, and that's why so our processing team and retail team is just around the clock. I mean, I think we have to process and open 275 new accounts in the span of the 10 business days before we have to have the money dispersed to our clients.
Sure. So we'll go into Q&A in terms of PPP and EIDL and all of that, that good stuff in a minute. But I want to flip over to PUA and the one that starts with an F before it, but I can't even remember my own notes right now. But PUA is the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. My first question, so there's PUA, which is your Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, which tells the state that they have to provide unemployment benefits to people that weren't normally eligible, like single member LLCs and sole proprietors. Then the federal part of that is what's giving you $600 a week extra until I think it was originally July 31st and it became July 25th or something to that nature. Now, originally when I had spoken with Kate, we ran numbers and we figured out that me taking the PPP first for 8 weeks from date of origination and then rolling into unemployment was best for me. That may not be the case for everyone else, right? My question is there anybody that is worried of my 3 experts that are on the phone? Is there anyone that is worried that because I'm taking PPP, I will not qualify for unemployment at all? No. Okay. So I'm getting either a shaking a head no or a straightforward face, which means to me means either we don't know or it's not going to. And again, I want to caveat this by again, these are my 3 experts, but this is all brand new and roles are changing. But yeah, so my understanding is that I'm going to be able to take unemployment after that. For some of you, if you run your numbers and you find out that it makes more sense, or you plan to get more money through the $600, which will be retroactive and unemployment, then you would not apply for the PPP. Because if you apply for the PPP and you accept the PPP, you have to be quote unquote working for those 8 weeks, which means I can't claim unemployment, right? So even if I'm paying myself to sit home, which that doesn't happen anyway, we're all doing work for our business. But if, you know, that 8 weeks has to happen. Am I on the right track to my 3 experts here?
Yeah.
It sounds right.
I mean, I mean, the other reason why you applied for the PPP first is you wanted to get that money, right? And as we just saw, that it ran out, right? I expect it to be refunded. So more people are going to get this. And I actually wouldn't be surprised if it's refunded again, depending upon how long social distancing lasts. But yeah, the point is that if you want to get the PPP loan, you do need to do that first, because as you can see, it can get cut off, right? And then, you know, back to your original question about the unemployment, based on the CARES Act, it doesn't matter that you're taking the PPP. When you're done and you're out of that money and you're still not working according to the new regulations, you're supposed to get unemployment. The issue is right now, our state still isn't up, you know, ready to take business owners like you that normally can't get unemployment. I just spoke with another client this morning, and you know, basically he's still been rejected for the unemployment. And you know, I think if you go on their website, it says something like, we're working on being able to take these applications.
Yeah, the website says they're working on it. And also, I don't know that I'm going to be able to put it in the notes right now. I forgot to pull that ahead of time. But on the Facebook page, I will put a screenshot of the letter that came out on the 14th from Virginia Economic Commission, or not Economic, Virginia Employment Commission. And as of the 14th, they said they're working on the infrastructure to allow sole proprietors, independent contractor, like all the people that wouldn't normally get it, 2 to 3 weeks from the 14th of April. So by then, we're going to be 2 months into this before you're going to see anything in Virginia from, you know, a point of unemployment, right? Because technically you don't qualify for regular unemployment, and you don't qualify yet for the $600. So that's not going to bring you any immediate relief either. Which, you know, you can tell from my voice how excited I am about that. And I don't really blame, I'm going to be honest with you, like throughout this, like I don't blame my bankers, I don't blame my financial advisors, I don't blame the SBA, and I don't even blame the Virginia Employment Commission. Honestly, we have to hold our reps responsible, and our officials, elected officials, responsible. They passed this law without giving any money or any resources for ramping up the infrastructure of programs in each state that they knew were antiquated. And so that's my little, you know, that's my little opinion. So I'll kind of back off of that a little bit, but you know, anyway, that's
their guidelines were so non-specific that banks had a hard time figuring out who would qualify for.
Yeah, unless you're my star bank over here. No.
Right, but yeah.
But even for you, Bud, right? You had to like get advisors in and like talk through things. And in the link of the chat, I actually put a link to an article from Forbes from yesterday where they talk about 10 unresolved issues from the PPP that are questions that we're kind of guessing what the answers and what they meant by those answers. So we're at 1:32 right now. Before I go into Q&A, do any of my 3 experts that made it onto the call today have additional thoughts or anything else that they want to add before we roll into Q&A?
I would just say one thing in regards to, the convolutedness and the fluid nature of this whole process is, I think the SBA made the mistake of releasing the information all at once to not only the consumer, but the banks at the same time. So I can't tell you how many inquiries or questions or statements, emails that started with, I read here. So, whether you're working with someone like myself or any other institution, just know that we're basically getting the information at the same time and we're reading the same things that you as the consumer are reading. So we are doing our best to try and stay ahead of it. But the way information was distributed out, it was really tough for us to be resident expert when we were getting blasted the same information as everyone was at the same time.
Yeah, I totally agree. Susan or Kate, any thoughts before I move on to questions? All right, awesome. So the first question we have is from Lucy. And, Lucy made a really good point that, especially me, I'm a massage therapist. I'm not a financial expert. And it all sounds very overwhelming when we're talking about all of these initials and all these different programs. And some of us, myself included, are not very good at math, right? And so if someone is like listening to this call and says, okay, I'm going to jump in and I'm going to try and figure this out, where do each of you think that you should start in terms of a resource? I'll start with myself and I'll just tell you what I did. So the first thing I did was I reached out to Kate, who's my financial planner, and I talked through her with some of the issues. And we'll be perfectly honest, both of us learned something on that first call that we didn't know. And also, I think you have to have a little bit of compassion for our experts right now, in that, again, like Bud said, they're getting it the same time we are. Then after that, I called Susan, and Susan actually had done a great webinar. And again, we ran into, I think it's this, oh no, it's not, it's that. And so you're gonna have to really put, you're responsible for your business. So take everyone's advice, but then also dig in, find articles, read the articles. I listen to the Make Me Smart podcast every day, and they do a really nice job of kind of like the financial piece of this and making it accessible in bite-sized chunks. Then I reached out to Bud, who I was not introduced to originally because I don't have loans, but I reached out to my my banking institution and the person that I was with and had a connection with. And honestly, I hadn't had a connection with them in over 2 years, because I opened my account and then I just go in and I drop off my checks and I'm done. But I reached out to that person that wasn't there. They connected me to the person who was, who then got me in with Bud before the PPP loans opened, so we could kind of figure out what I needed ahead of time. So that's the route that I went. What do each of you, is that kind of the proper order? Do you think because of the urgency of PPP, we should go straight to our bank? Like, what should we do?
I'll just put it out there that as soon as this all started happening, I made an offer to anybody who's experienced a loss of income that I will work with them for free. So if you're trying to figure out the route that best fits you, feel free to give me a call or schedule an appointment on my website, redcloverfinancialplanning.com. But yeah, no, I think what you did was great, Meg.
Susan or Bud, anything to add?
Susan, you can go first.
So I would say the first thing to do is get your books in order. Bookkeeper, that's what I would tell you to do, right?
Yeah, I
And
think.
then, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, you first.
I was just gonna say, and then research, really research. And like I did the webinar with Rowan Tree, and the very next day, information changed. So, I mean, it's still good to do these webinars, but just don't take it as the final word. It's not in stone. It keeps changing. Like QuickBooks announced 3 days ago, yay, we're finally ready that you can apply for the PPP loan through our payroll service. And then this morning I get an email from them saying, oops, it's closed. They're not taking applications. We'll let you know when it's open again. So as quick as something is said, it's changed. So Good resources. Forbes has been a great resource. They've really stayed on top of it, Forbes.com. There's a daily newsletter called The Morning Brew that has great financial information and lots of links. And get in touch with Bud, or whoever your representative is at your bank, like Bud, who can keep you informed of what's going on.
Great. And Bud?
Yeah, I mean, I think have your financial stuff, your financial documents in order. If you have a relationship with your banker, I think that's going to put you in a better spot than, you go to your bank's website, apply here. A couple people on the chat were like, well, I'm still in the virtual queue. That's, I guess benefits of small banks versus big banks. So there's obviously benefits for the bigger banks as well. I'm not trying to knock on them at all, but if you can get to a person, I feel like you're going to get better answers than, oh, I submitted my application, but now I'm calling an 800 number and, oh, I don't know where I'm at, or I'm not getting the answers. Or I had some clients that came to me. I've probably gotten 10 new clients that said, wish we would have trusted your word last year when we talked about, opening accounts or moving our relationship over. So, there's pros and cons, obviously, but if you have all your ducks in a row, and whenever XYZ bank or credit union or anything says this is what you need, and if you know that it's going to be paramount to have my 19 year to dates, my 19 or 20 year to dates, 19 year ends, 2019 Schedule Cs. I know taxes got not postponed, but pushed. So everyone maybe thought they were kind of off the hook for a little bit and focus on the here and now, but now you're seeing that maybe we should have done our taxes earlier or something like that. So as much financial information you can have, that makes it easier for people like myself to process these loans whenever this next round opens up.
And that's a really good point, and comes to our next question. So what is taxable and what is not taxable? We talked about earlier that what is not going to be taxed is the PPP and the EIDL, not refundable, PPP and EIDL forgivable portions of the loan. That is everyone's understanding?
It's a loan, so yeah, it shouldn't be taxable.
And then unemployment is going to be taxable. You'll be able to click on that in Virginia and say, I want my taxes taken out ahead of time in that regard. And I had another thought about taxes, but I'll come back to it because it's already lost me, like has been the process through this whole thing. The next part is someone said they are at a credit union. Oh, it just skipped. Let's see. They are at a credit union. Will credit unions be able to help with this? Should I be doing my 2019 taxes now for this? We don't have a credit union on. I think do the research now and make sure that your credit union is planning to offer PPP loans, and make sure that they have a relationship with SBA. I don't know if that's true or not, but I feel like the banks that had SBA loans ahead of time were ahead of the curve because they kind of understood the nuances of it. That would be my non-financial advice. There was the second part was about tax on that. Should I be doing my 2019 taxes now for this? My understanding is you can submit your Schedule C that you created for 2019, but you don't have to submit your taxes yet. So like my accountant already did everything, but is that true? You can, as long as you have a Schedule C, but you haven't sent it into the federal government yet, that will still work.
We accepted draft Schedule Cs.
Okay.
That was just to process the loan. So
We'll
we
see.
did not see any language that said that was against the rules. So
yeah. And again, there is
those.
there's a lot of missing language, right? So we could find out that, oh, sorry, it's not forgivable now because you didn't send your taxes in. Or if you have changes to it before your taxes are come in, I could really you know,
I would say the biggest drastic change is that would probably hurt the cause if you submitted a Schedule C that showed a positive line 31 and then come back to it and the one you filed shows a negative line 31. I think that would be a no-no and probably get you in a lot of trouble, because if it was on line 31 negative on your Schedule C, you wouldn't have qualified for any of those funds.
Okay, great.
So,
I mean, not great, but a good point
Yeah.
to make sure you got your ducks in a row now.
exactly.
Let's see. I have someone says, I have a big question. They were about to do their LLC when this all happened. Do you know if I have benefits if I work for so someone who does professional services, they're right now a sole proprietor. They don't have their LLC set up yet. Would they qualify?
So are they paid out as just a 1099 or do they get a W-2?
Ana Rosa, if you're still on, do you want to unmute yourself? I'm going to come back to Ana Rosa. I'm thinking it might be on my end that maybe I muted everybody. So we'll come back at the end and I'll open it up. Refundable loans are not, oh, that was me. Will credit unions, there's my link. I have several friends who got the PPP loans through PayPal and other non-traditional lenders like QuickBooks and Square will be processing PPP loans. My understanding when I went to Cabbage and to Square was they were saying, yeah, we're going to do it. And then they sent you to a form so that when they were ready and then the money ran out. I don't, again, it's hearsay, but that is my understanding. So once round 2 goes, maybe they'll be ready. Also, I think it was Square or Cabbage that did not disclose what lenders they were working with to make that happen. I don't know if either of you three have something to add on that. Go right ahead. Can you talk a little bit more about PUA, specifically whether it will be backdated since the state mandate to shut down non-essential businesses as of March 24th and when it will be active or able to be applied to on the unemployment website. So I just talked about that. Again, go to the Facebook page. After this, give me like 5 minutes to find it and put it up, but I'll put the form that Virginia Employment Commission just sent out on the 14th. It'll be 2 to 3 weeks from the 14th. My understanding though is that they want you to actually, they want you to go in now, apply, get denied, and then when it opens up, do an appeal or go in again and reapply. So I would encourage you to apply now and then get denied, and then when it opens up, do that. My question though is, and I don't know if any of my 3 experts can answer, should I do that myself right now? Or because I'm taking PPP, should I wait until PPP is exhausted and then apply for unemployment? And what risk is there of me losing all of that, losing money? Yeah, I think we're all like, we don't know.
I would apply for unemployment now. Because what will happen is once you get a,
if it comes through,
what?
And then I can say no to it if it comes through?
No, what happens is once you go on unemployment, they have you recertify your income every week. I mean, I don't know. You're probably not going to get approved for unemployment based on what we talked about before, right? Because you're self-employed. So, you know, but the thing is, somebody asked, are they going to backdate it? And they do. They backdate it from the time you stopped earning income. So, so based on that, it doesn't really matter if you apply for it now. Whenever you do apply for it, it should be backdated for the weeks that you weren't being paid.
Well, and I think that the 2 fears are right. Like, when is the government going to run out of money? That's one fear. And the second thing is, I'm breaking the law if I get unemployment and PPP at the same time. So 1, it's not going to be forgivable. And 2, I mean, I would hope they're not going to do that, but like, it's not legal. So
Okay.
I think that's the gray area that I'm torn on.
The government's not going to run out of money. I recommend to anybody who's worried about that to watch the 60 Minutes episode that aired 2 weeks. It was like the second segment. It was the guy from the Federal Reserve. Basically, the government has an unlimited ability to print as much money as they want. So we're not going to run out of funding for any of the programs.
Netta has a question in regards to that, but I'm not sure if your volume is on or not. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Well, I was just going to say, I typed it, but based on, if you apply for unemployment now, while the website is not ready to accept self-employed people, you will get denied. And they want you to do that. The message I got, it took a week or so after I applied. I got a letter, I got text. They're texting me to tell me the process, but they want you to apply and get denied because that's how they're making sure that you don't have any earnings in their system.
Okay.
So even though I put that I made money as a self-employed person, before I knew there was going to be a whole nother website, I thought I would get applied, I would get approved. But the note I got was that we're glad that you did this and got denied because this is what we're using to ascertain that you don't have any wage history in the last however many years. So now we know you're eligible. We're just not ready with the PUA yet.
Gotcha.
So if I were you, I would apply now because then when PUA is up, you'll be ahead of the game. That's my interpretation. But
Right, exactly. Everything we're talking about today is interpretation.
Yep.
So then the next question, I'm going to speed round now because we're down to about 1 minute left before we hit the 50-minute mark and we might lose some of our experts. But I will stay on to get through these questions if it goes a little bit longer. All right, the next question was, as an IC, an independent contractor who works at one place with no overhead, I essentially go to my place to work, do my job, and come home. If I should get approved for the PPP, all that money would strictly go to my personal wages. What do I need to track? What I need to track? Would I need to track every dollar spent? My overhead is basically my day-to-day expenses. Would I be better off waiting for the PUA? Also, I heard from the mayor's office that if you get approved for PPP, you then are disqualified from PUA. Okay, I'm just going to cover the first part, the last part first. Yes, you can't double dip. You're not double dipping if you wait till after your 8 weeks from origination to start to take unemployment, is the interpretation that most of us have been given right now. So after that, I'm going to roll back. Who wants to cover the first part of her question?
It goes back to the other part. Is she paid as a W-2 or a 1099 employee?
If she's an independent contractor, I would assume that she is, well, actually, if she's an independent contractor, she's a 1099. If she's given a W-2, then she's told she's an independent contractor, but she's not. She's an employee. So I believe a lot of us are independent, not myself, but a lot of massage therapists are independent contractors. And then there's that whole debate if that really is the right designation. But yes, but it would be probably a 1099.
Well, yeah, if she's getting paid out as the 1099, and she would technically qualify, yes, with the 1099 and the Schedule C, if it's being paid back up through her as a individual member LLC, or if it's just a Schedule C under her own TIN number. So, you know, every scenario is different, but, you know, she's just got to work and see what documents she has and how it all plays out and work with her bank or a bank and see what is and isn't qualified. Just, you know, like we said before, do the research, get your ducks in a row, submit it, and then speak with someone.
And Bud, for not for ICs, but for myself and other sole proprietors and single member LLCs, our loans are based on net income for 2 months. How do we show that at the end? Are we running a P&L?
Yeah, P&Ls, and I forget which document you submitted that, Meg, but yeah, the year-end P&L,
So I know, I'm going to cut you off for 1 second, Bud, I'm sorry. I know that that's what I'm doing to get the approval. But when it comes to forgiveness, I only file my taxes once a year because of I don't have to do quarterly because of how my marital status and everything else. So what I'm worried about is when it comes time to be like, did you actually use it for payroll? How am I going to prove net income? What do you know what the requirements are?
We don't actually
Yeah.
yet. That is kind of the gray area. It's going to be too much. The 2 months of waiting and seeing. I'm just document when that account gets open for you, Meg, and your money's going out of it. Just to the penny. Just whatever you're using it for, just keep it all, and we're all gonna learn together.
Back to bookkeeping. So yeah, I agree. Keep everything. If you have QuickBooks, make sure everything is up to date. Like keep every dollar that you're doing accounted for. All right.
Yeah.
So the next question. I'm still in a virtual wait list for PPP with SunTrust. So far, they have not even offered me an application. Should I get in line somewhere else? I don't know what everyone else will say. I'm going to say hell yeah, and know that the PPP money is gone. So what you're going to be doing is working towards the next round of PPP. If you have accounts in other places, I would talk to them. And then, Bud, what if somebody's working with like not SunTrust, what was it? Wells Fargo. That was like, yeah, never mind. And and they don't have an account somewhere else. Are there banks that should we be trying to open an account now? Is that not going to matter? Like, what does that person do?
Well, for us, we had a gray area in the first round, but the second round, our executive leadership team has made drawn a line in the sand of you had to be a bank client before February 15th of this year. So there are banks out there. Check your LinkedIn, do a Google search for community banks looking for new clients that they might be even smaller than MVB, that they're looking for new deposit opportunities. And if that's what it takes, they might take you in as a non-client of the bank. But a lot of them are they were gray area for the first round, but the second round, they might be a little more stringent of you had to be a client before X date.
Okay, and then I would say too, just put your name in the mix right now. If you can put it in at Square, if you can put it in at Cabbage. There's a third one. I'll see if I can find what it was, and do some research and look for websites through Google. Look for, personally, what I would do is look for the Forbes articles, look for the Washington Post articles that address this, and they should give you some alternatives of what you might look at. And I mean, Bud's not going to want to hear this, but I would say apply to all of them, and then because it's only a pre-app that you're doing right now. You're not actually taking the loan. So put your name in the mix in all of those and then see who gets back to you. Am I off base, my three experts? All right, I'm going to take that as I'm going to take that as an okay, or I don't want to answer. How are they determining what you get in regards to the stimulus check? So I included, Kate, I'm going to let you talk about that, but I'm going to include the get my payment link while she's chatting.
Yeah, so if you didn't file a tax return for 2018 or 2019, it's going to be based on your tax return for 2018. And basically you want to look at line 8B of your 1040 from that tax return and see what you have for your adjusted gross income there. If you're single and you had an adjusted gross income of $75,000 or less, you're going to get $1,200 plus $500 per child that you have. And if you're married filing jointly, if it's $150,000 or less, you're going to get $2,400. Now, what I was actually surprised about is that if your AGI is over those amounts, you still might get a stimulus check. It just might be reduced, and it gets reduced by $50 for every $1,000 that's over that amount. But yeah, you can just go to the link that makes it posted. See if you're getting one.
All right. What somebody said, didn't Warner tell me that you can't double dip? Correct. I think we addressed that earlier. You can't double dip, but you can take the extent of the PPP and then go to unemployment unless other programs come out. I was told to get in touch with the Virginia unemployment, that the application for those that now qualify for the PUA, when it's able to apply, will be starting Monday, April 19th. Who knows if that will happen or not. If that information, Jennifer, was given to you after the letter on the 14th came out, I would say awesome. And I would also say, regardless of what that letter says, keep checking, because things are changing periodically. Anybody else have anything to add to that? All right, the article left me with more questions than answers. Heck yeah, Jenny, that's exactly what that's all about. It's saying that these are the things in the PPP that don't make sense right now or contradict each other. I didn't quite catch your website. Actually, at the end of this, Bud is not going to be available to give out his information because he's only working with MVB clients right now. And obviously, you know, for obvious reasons. But Kate and Susan, if you can put your contact information into the group chat, I will make sure that that file gets saved. I didn't, let's see, she's got red clover there. So see, Kate already was on top of it. And Susan was on top of it as well. So I should just read down. I applied for the PPP through a credit union. Check with your specific credit union if they are SBA approved. Yep, absolutely. Nice point, Lee. What if you just started a new business on February 1st and have rent but no income yet?
That's, yeah, it'd be tough unless, I mean, do you have, if they have employees, like, do they have what the employee contracts were? I mean, there's got to be proof of lost income or lost wages that you're paying out.
Yeah, so for the
Comes out to.
PPP, the main point is this is about revenue, or this is about net income when it comes to sole proprietors and single member LLCs, right, Bud?
Mhm.
Yeah. All right, I got denied, and the message is you don't need to file an appeal. Based on my experience, you should apply now and get denied. Great point, Netta, and thank you for bringing that up again and speaking to that. I have to run. Oh, Amy had to run. IRS, get my payment. I put that in there. What is the date cutoff for whether 2018 or 2019 tax returns are used? This person had filed on 4/14/2020.
18s won't be accepted. It's 19 numbers we
So
need.
for the PPP, it's 19 only.
Correct.
For the stimulus check, they were using 2018 if you hadn't filed 2019. But I don't know if anybody knows this. If you're like, what was that cutoff?
I don't remember.
Yeah. I don't know. Phyllis, I'm sending you back to the wonderful world of Google on that one. Lucy is married and filed separately in 2018 and has 2 kids that are not her husband's. Should she file jointly for 2019? What is the difference between sole proprietor and single employee LLC? So the first part is we can't answer that on this. You've got to talk to your financial advisor or you have to talk to your CPA because there are so many nuances of that. That would be my Kate, do you agree?
Yeah, Lucy, just give me a call and we'll talk about your specific situation.
Yeah. And then the difference between sole proprietor and single employee LLC. You actually will register with Virginia to become an LLC. And then when you file your taxes, you can decide to have an S Corp or a C Corp designation. And that's where you kind of create yourself as a person within your LLC. And so you're paying yourself. And then the experts will correct me when I'm wrong. But and then if you're just an LLC, then that's kind of how we're using the term single member LLC. So like I just do an owner draw. So whether that's weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly, I take money out after my expenses on what I'm quote unquote paying myself. Sometimes that owner draw like comes to me, and sometimes it sits in my business account, and that's why they used net income versus what your owner draw was or what it wasn't, right? Because I am my company in that case. Am I on board, experts?
Basically, I mean, all of your income is your income at this point.
Mhm.
So, yeah,
So if you
that
never,
is actually the money that you made.
great. So if you never filled out an LLC with the state, then you're a sole proprietor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And let's see, oh, Jenlene had to jet. Bye, Jenlene. And Lucy said, great. And she's in LLC 2019 will be the first time filing taxes for a business. So,
If she's a sole proprietor LLC, she's filing, it's a pass through. So there's not a separate filing other than the Schedule C and things on her regular taxes.
okay, great. So I don't know if does anyone who's left on the call right now, we went over, which is like, you know, par for the course with me. I'm going to unmute everyone right now. And does anyone have any questions?
No,
All right.
none.
So again, if you have any questions, Kate gave her information. Susan, are you available for a consult or how?
Oh, sure, definitely. Just send me an email. That'd be great.
Okay, fabulous. I want to thank everyone for coming on to the call today. It was really beneficial. And, you know, when we have 30 people on a call, like it makes sense to me how incredibly important it is for us to kind of bond together and figure this stuff out. I'm from Jersey, so I didn't want to say stuff, but I did. You know, figure this stuff out for our LLCs and our sole proprietors. If there's other information that you want to see in regards to this, shoot me a note, let me know. I'm going to put my email address into the comments here. And that's about it. And I know I have some homework to do, so I will work on that as soon as we're done. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bud, I owe Bud information too. I have to email him after this. Rosemary, I miss you.
I miss you too. Wait, how do I sign out?
I don't know. I think on the lower right-hand side, there should be something that says
Oh
end.
my God, do you see me looking and saying like, how the fuck do I get out of here? Sorry. Okay, how do I get out of here? Quit. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Leave.